Court orders immediate release of Omoyele Sowore. Federal Inland Revenue Service denies giving Vice President Osinbajo 90 billion naira for posters in the February election. In international news, UK Supreme Court rules Boris Johnson unlawfully suspended Parliament. And in sports, NTTF coach appeals for funds ahead of ITTF circus in Cairo.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. An Abuja Federal High Court has ordered the immediate release of the convener of Revolution Now protest, Omoyele Sowore. He has been in the custody of the Department of State Services since early August. The DSS had earlier withdrawn its motion to further detain him. Justice Taiwo said Sowore was being released because the original order to detain him had elapsed. The DSS had originally applied for a 20-day extension of the detention order, but withdrew the motion, saying Sowore had been charged with treasonable felony, money laundering, and insulting the president. Sowore's arrest in early August for organizing the Revolution Now protest has now morphed into charges of treason, money laundering, and insulting the president. The federal government has reached an agreement with Gallaudet University in the U.S. for the establishment of a university for the deaf in Nigeria. The Nigerian National Association of the Deaf has confirmed that a series of meetings had been held with the National Universities Commission, Federal Ministry of Education, National Assembly leadership, and the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board on the proposed university. The African Democratic Bank, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, and many other stakeholders also attended the meeting. Gallaudet University is the world's only university for the deaf. Many people with hearing impairments in Nigeria and Africa attend the university. A Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) is demanding a public apology from a former chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, Tim Frank, for alleging that taxpayers' money were diverted to political campaigns in support of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo during the February presidential elections. FIRS says Frank issued a well-publicized public apology in 3 major Nigerian newspapers within 24 hours to avoid FIRS legal moves against him for aggravated damages and libel and injurious falsehood. Tim Frank had earlier claimed the agency supported the All Progressives Congress by giving Vice President Yemi Osinbajo 90 billion naira. The agency said it could not have spent taxpayers' money for political campaigns. FIRS describes Frank's allegation as a campaign of calumny, entirely libelous, irresponsible, and a brazen assault on the integrity of the service. Tim Frank says he stands by his words. We'll see where this goes. A UN special delegate to Nigeria has advised the federal government on how best to address housing deficits in the country. It says the government should impose vacant home taxes, which could be put into the creation of affordable housing and the upgrading of informal settlements. UN Rapporteur on the right to adequate housing, Leilani Fatah, is on a 10-day fact-finding visit to Nigeria. She says there is economic inequality in the country, which has reached extreme level and is playing itself out clearly in the housing sector. Fatah also urged the federal government to take urgent measures to address homelessness and poverty by advocating for a declaration of a nationwide moratorium on forced evictions. Fatah says she's also worried about the ineffectiveness and early demise of the rent control bill at the National Assembly. Fatah will present a comprehensive report of her visit to the UN Human Rights Council in March. Rivers State Governor Yosef Wike has lifted the embargo on the hiring of academic and non-academic staff for the Rivers State University Port Harcourt. Wike says it was forced to suspend the exercise because of the negative issues surrounding the expulsion of the former Vice-Chancellor, Professor Blessing Didaya. Wike says he's satisfied with the report of the Governing Council. The Yoruba socio-political group Afenifere is unhappy about the way the Nigerian police is handling the investigation of the murder of Velu late daughter of the group's leader, Reuben Fashoroti. Afenifere said in a statement on Sunday it was compelled to speak out over the lackadaisical attitude of the police in investigating the gruesome murder. Olakunrin was murdered in July around Ore in Ondo State by persons suspected to be Fulani herdsmen. The killers also took some others hostage during the attack. The statement says the police had not shown any serious signs of proper investigation. Ondo Police Command Public Relations Officer Femi Joseph says the Nigerian police is doing its best.
Coming up, African stories. 8 babies killed in Algeria hospital fire. And later, international news. UK's Supreme Court rules suspension of Parliament unlawful.
You are watching ANN.
Dear Mommy, you went out that night with the baby in your tummy, but you did not come back. The baby is very fine and she eats and sleeps a lot. Everyone says that you are in a better place, but I miss you so much. I keep asking them, where is the better place? But nobody answers me. Auntie Kemi just hugs me and says, go and play. Mommy, I miss you. Please, when are you coming home?
I still do miss you, Mom. And in honor of your memory, I'm a doctor today working with the MTN Foundation to save mothers and children every day.
Ending mother and child mortality in Nigeria is dear to us. We will keep strengthening this most important bond just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African stories. 8 babies have been killed in Algeria at the maternity unit of the hospital after a fire swept through the facility before dawn on Tuesday. The country's local media reports a blaze ripped through Bachar Benacer Hospital in eastern Algeria. The emergency services spokesman, Captain Nashim Benawour, says a total of 11 babies and 107 women were rescued in the fire that was brought under control at around 4 a.m. local time. He added that 8 babies had died, some from burns and others from smoke inhalation. Nearly 30 staff were also rescued. Prime Minister Nuruddin Badoer has ordered an urgent investigation into the fire. The Ghana security forces say they have foiled an elaborate coup plot targeting the presidency. The Information Ministry says the coup is aimed at destabilizing the country. It says in a statement, a joint security operation led to the arrest of 3 persons, including a local arms manufacturer, and seizure of several weapons. Security says the operation came after 15 months of surveillance and gathering of evidence on the activities of the prime suspect and others, adding that between June and August last year, one of the suspects contacted a number of 7 military personnel and talked to them into hatching and executed a plot to obtain weapons, take over key installations, and secure funding for the purpose of taking over the reins of government. Cape Town, South Africa is seeking partnership to develop green energy. It sees this as a way to the future to meet its energy needs and to provide jobs for local labor. Travis Andrews has the details.
It was not too long ago that the mother city once again felt the burden of rolling blackouts, as energy capacity problems once again came to the fore. Now with Eskom's planned unbundling and the emergence of cheaper renewable energy options, the city of Cape Town wants to go green in a bigger, better way.
we have a special economic zone which is specifically demarcated for green technology. And in Cape Town, I've identified 4 economic sectors that will deliver massive return on investment, and that makes business sense. And technology, specifically in the green space, being one of the 4. And so it is important for us to work with other countries that have shown huge progress.
Among them is China, a global leader in renewable energy production, manufacturing and expertise, and an early investor and partner in the region's green energy space.
The wind turbine production and a number of other companies have already indicated their preference to come to Cape Town and to invest in our economy. And so the working relationship between Cape Town and some of these Chinese cities through the twinning agreement and China as a country is essential. We have to work with countries if we want to be successful.
Wind turbine manufacturing plants will create local jobs as well, especially in the Atlantis Special Economic Zone. The city believes not only can it attract investment in the renewable energy space from countries such as China, but also skills and knowledge, which could benefit skills development for many Cape Townians. And some experts believe this is also a great opportunity to marshal the industry towards a more privatized market, which has already worked in other countries.
2007, the electricity access in Kenya was 32%. Today, it's double that. And that's thanks in great part to a privatization effort that occurred in 2 phases in Kenya that now is today the model for how to run a power industry. But you can't have that unless you initiate a process to unbundle the power industry.
For now, though, more and more wind farms are being established and more skills are being transferred locally. And it remains just a matter of time before green energy becomes much more of the norm in homes across the city.
Zimbabwe local officials say the main water treatment plant in the capital, Harare, has been closed down because of foreign currency shortage. A deputy mayor described the situation as devastating and appealed to the government to make enough foreign currency available so the chemicals can be purchased for the treatment plants. There are reports of increased cases of diarrhea in Harare and fears that untreated water consumption could lead to further outbreaks of cholera or typhoid. Last year, 26 persons were reported killed in what was the country's worst cholera outbreak in a decade because of burst sewers and inadequate water supply. The state-run media is blaming the opposition movement for Democratic Change Party for the shutdown. MDC runs the city council.
When we return, international news. UK Supreme Court rules Boris Johnson unlawfully suspended Parliament. And later, sports. Nigerian Table Tennis Federation coach appeals for funds ahead of ITTF circuit in Cairo.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to international stories. British politics is in even deeper turmoil today as UK's top court rules Prime Minister Boris Johnson acted unlawfully when he suspended Parliament. The decision could force the government to reconvene Parliament before October the 14th. That would reopen debate over Brexit that was short-circuited when Johnson asked the Queen to suspend Parliament for 5 weeks. The Supreme Court ruling has dealt another heavy blow to the Prime Minister barely a month before the country is scheduled to leave the European Union. The highest court in the UK has always avoided involvement in politics, but it made a landmark decision to intervene in a fierce clash between Johnson and Parliament over when and how to exit the European Union. Speaker of the House of Commons John Bercow said the Supreme Court judges have vindicated the right and duty of Parliament to meet at this crucial time to scrutinize the executive and hold ministers to account. He further said Parliament must convene without delay. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has suffered repeated legal and political defeats since becoming Prime Minister in July. This month, after the Conservative Party lost its majority in the House of Commons, he called for early elections, but he failed to win the two-thirds majority he needed. A whistleblower complaint by an anonymous U.S. intelligence official has provoked a spiraling political standoff between the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump and congressional Democrats seeking to investigate the alleged wrongdoing. The complaint reportedly involves an allegation that Trump had frozen aid to Ukraine before calling its leader, President Volodymyr Zelensky, in late July, allegedly pressing him to investigate former Vice President and Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden and his son, Hunter. At the time, Kiev was eagerly anticipating $250 million in U.S. military aid. The revelation came as leading congressional Democrats demanded that the administration turn over documentation about the matter and calls for impeachment grew. President Trump defended his calls to have Ukraine investigate the unsubstantiated corruption charges he has made against former Vice President Joe Biden and his son. The very high number of Chinese visitors to the U.S. is now declining as trade dispute shatters economic relations between the two countries. Just how bad is it? Reporter Harry Horton is in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia is considered the birthplace of America and one of the country's top tourist destinations. Chinese visits here and elsewhere in the US have increased steadily over the past decade, but the number is now predicted to reverse. Adam Sachs is the founder of the company Tourism Economics, which follows the global travel sector. He says the slowdown of China's economy has limited some visits, but forecasts an even bigger decline due to trade tensions with the US, travel advisories and visa restrictions.
From 2018, over the 3-year period to 2020, we saw a difference of 2 million visitors that are likely to be lost in terms of comparing what is actually playing out right now compared to what we would have expected on economic conditions. And so it seems like there are other things going on besides economics, namely the effects of the trade war in limiting travel between China and the US.
According to Tourism Economics, the drop in Chinese tourists could cost the US as much as $11 billion. Every Chinese traveller spends on average almost $6,000 during their trip to the US. So if visits continue to decline, the cost to cities like Philadelphia can quickly add up. Despite the economic impact, tourism experts say US cities will always be a top destination.
The American tourism industry being very dedicated, very innovative in the Chinese markets. And also the American people are very hospitable and they're always welcome, international visitors and support tourism development. I believe that's, give us some confidence, give the industry confidence that the overall trend of the Chinese tourism to the United States will still be positive.
Chinese visits to the US fell by almost 6% last year, the first drop since 2003. US tourism officials hope the current political and trade tensions with China end soon and the flow of Chinese tourists to US cities increases again.
Up next, sport. NTTF coach appeals for funds ahead of ITTF circuit in Cairo. Please stay with us.
watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow the story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sports. Nigerian Table Tennis Federation is appealing for financial support ahead of the upcoming International Table Tennis Federation Junior Circuit, Egypt Junior. National coach Nasiru Bello says players who stood out in the recently concluded ITTF Challenge in Ghana are eagerly looking forward to the upcoming competition in the North African country. The team would commence open campaign for the competition from Wednesday. The ITTF Junior Circuit will be held in October. "900 athletes are competing for medals at the ongoing one-division Nigerian Army Inter-Brigade competition in Kaduna. Organizers say this year's Division Inter-Brigade Sport Championship is another opportunity for the brigades under the command to slug it out in 19 sporting events. General Officer Commanding 1 Division, Major General Farouk Yaya says the competition will help in selecting athletes that would represent the division in the forthcoming Nigerian Army Sport Festival. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.